This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Is the After Party live on a Travel Tuesday, and thank you for being here. And hi, everybody. And I'm sorry that I'm late. That Mark Thompson show post-show meeting went on a little bit long, but we've got a really good show planned for tomorrow, talking about The Economist that will be on. Of course, John Rothman will join us, and Belinda Weymouth will be there with It's the Planet Stupid. So it's going to be a really good show, shaping it up for tomorrow. I do want to thank Luis. Luis yesterday, right as the show was ending, slid in with a super sticker, super chat. And so thank you, Luis, for the contribution to the show yesterday. You know, it doesn't happen without you. And so it's very appreciated. Thank you so much. The super chat, super stickers are always open on YouTube. The PayPal for the show is always available as well. That's in the show description, and it's in the About tab. And thank you to everyone who contributes that way as well. The most recent contributors to the After Party Live PayPal do include Wes, who once again, yesterday and today, pops in with 5. Carol S. Coming in with a contribution. Rhonda A. coming in with a recurring contribution. Also, Linda G. Huge thank you to everyone who helps keep this show rolling. Huge appreciation for you, really. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move forward with this cutest little baby elephant. And you got to do the story, if only to show you the picture, because, oh my gosh, how cute is he or she? This elephant is the result of years and years and years of conservation efforts. It's an Asian elephant born at the National Zoo, the Smithsonian National Zoo. It's the first time in 25 years that an Asian elephant was born in the National Zoo. The parents of this calf, bred as part of a program working to conserve this endangered species. So it's a huge accomplishment there. The staff says the baby is healthy, alert, and bright-eyed. At the time of birth, she weighed 308 pounds and was 38 and a half inches tall. The elephant calf, born to a first-time mother who's 12 years old. She was pregnant for 21 months, which is apparently pretty standard. The calf is not going to be on display for up to a month. She needs time to bond with her mom and do all the things that baby elephants do, and she needs to do it away from prying eyes. If you donate $5 to Asian Elephant Care and Conservation on the zoo's website, then you will be eligible to help choose a name. They have 4 options, all of them Vietnamese in origin. It's $1 representing 1 vote. You have to donate at least $5 to Asian Elephant Care and Conservation. So I guess if you donate more, you get to vote more. I don't know. But here's the names. Lin Mai, which means spirit or soul. Tao Ni, which means gentle or kind. Tu An, which means talented or gifted, intelligent. And Tuet, which traditionally means snow. They picked that one because she was born during the winter months. So if you want to donate and you want to go help pick a name, I'm going to put this in the chat so you guys can see more about where to go, what to do, how to participate, just in case you're interested in helping their conservation efforts and helping choose a name as well. So, yeah, I had to put that up there. I mean, she's so beautiful. Look at that. It's so exciting. The Species Survival Plan program that is responsible for the breeding and the existence of this baby elephant is an effort to create a stable, genetically diverse population of Asian elephants. Right now, there are fewer than 52,000 of these animals estimated to remain in their homeland of South and Southeast Asia. These animals are very endangered. They are 10 times more endangered than African elephants, according to the director of conservation at the National Zoo. They continue to decline as well, the population, mostly because of habitat loss associated with humans. Agriculture, mining, urbanization, all problems that are taking away their living spaces. They say that things that they're learning at the National Zoo, technologies, science, that they can directly transfer to the places where the animals actually live. The staff at the zoo could show the people how to monitor the elephant's reproductive cycles via hormones and determine which individuals should be bred to maintain genetic diversity. So they're working on it, and looks like their conservation efforts have been paying off. So, interestingly, this calf has not yet met her mother. They can smell each other and they can hear each other, but there's a barrier between them. And they're assessing now, the staff at the National Zoo, to check the behavioral cues to assess when the mom might be ready to meet her baby. They say there's an encouraging sign because she is responding, the baby is responding to, or the mother is responding to the calls of the calf. Once they said they can secure the bond, then the magic point is nursing, and then we'll give them time, they say, to learn how to orient around each other. But right now they're separated. So she's so cute. All right. Next story we have for you today at the After Party Live is in honor of this teacher. And I love this story, if only because it reminds me of my mom's long career as an elementary school teacher. For nearly 40 years, she taught first, second, and third grade, an expert in teaching kids how to read. Nobody better than my mom at doing that. This lady, though, beats my mom in the length of career. She has been a teacher, was a teacher for 67 years. She's from Michigan. She's a 90-year-old English teacher, and she now has a Guinness World Record for her 67-year career in the classroom. Like my mom, her name is Beverly. She teaches English at Detroit Country Day School in Beverly Hills, Michigan. And she got her Guinness World Record certificate for longest career as a language teacher, female, at a surprise assembly at the school. The guest speakers included former student Courtney B. Vance, who, of course, went on to become a Tony and Emmy winning actor. He said, "She really taught me how to write and put wonderful thoughts together. And because of that, we've stayed in touch." This woman, Beverly, started teaching in 1958. She also says her former students include actor Robin Williams, former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer. And she said this: "I have no plans for retirement. I love this school. I love teaching." You would think by now the students would get on her everlast nerve, but she's going to keep it rolling. This again, she's 90 years old, been teaching for 67 years. Hats off to Beverly Hannett Price at the Detroit Country Day School in Beverly Hills, Michigan. That's pretty awesome. The students in a lab have found a way to create cosmic dust. That's a really cool picture, too. They used gas and 10,000 volts of electricity, and blammo, they said, "We no longer have to wait for an asteroid or a comet to come to Earth to understand their histories." So, a PhD student from the University of Sydney has succeeded in creating or recreating comic dust in a laboratory. And the reason it's important is because it could likely make it much easier to study the chemical building blocks of life, how they may have formed long before life existed on Earth. Cosmic dust is made up of tiny grains of solid material floating through the cosmos. One source of it, you can collect micrometeorites when they fall to Earth, or you could collect these particles in the upper atmosphere. And since 1981, NASA has used aircraft to collect cosmic dust particles in the Earth's stratosphere. They are individually retrieved from the collectors, examined, cataloged, and then made available for scientific research. Another way you can get them is to collect and analyze it if you're aboard a spacecraft. They had the comic dust analyzer aboard the Cassini. The cosmic dust, according to NASA, is essential to the function of the universe. It shelters forming stars, it becomes part of planets, and it can contain the organic compounds that lead us to life as we know it. We are, of course, dust. Dust led to us. But now, this PhD candidate who works in materials and plasma physics in the School of Physics has figured out a way to produce cosmic dust analogs in the lab. She used a mix of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and acetylene gas to mimic environments found around stars and supernova remnants. And then she subjected them to intense electrical energy, 10,000 volts. The result? Carbon rich grains similar to real cosmic dust that drifts through the cosmos and is found inside comets and asteroids. The question is she going to create life in the lab? I don't know. Lab analogs help understanding complicated chemical environments that have the potential to form carbonaceous cosmic dust. They wrote a study on what they did in the lab here, and they said fewer analog experiments incorporate the chemical complexity evident in solar system dust samples, like the organic matter found in carbonaceous chondrites and comets. So they took this dielectric barrier discharge plasma reactor, it's very sciencey, and they were able, they say, to synthesize a complex mix of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen essential for life, known as the CHON molecule, CHON. They said we no longer have to wait for an asteroid or a comet to come to Earth to understand the histories. You can build an analog environment in the lab and reverse engineer their structure using the infrared fingerprints. And it can give us a huge insight into how carbonaceous comic dust can form in the plasma puffed out by giant old stars or in cosmic nurseries where stars are being born, and distribute these fascinating molecules that could be vital for life. It's like we have recreated a little bit of the universe in a bottle right in the lab. They said as the mixture was subjected to 10,000 volts of electrical potential for an hour, molecules broke apart to form these more complex structures before settling into a thin layer of dust, cosmic dust. So that's kind of cool. We could just make it ourselves. Look at that. Check out this medieval pendant. It's more than it looks. It has a Roman secret. It's an artifact within an artifact. It was found by a metal detectorist. Once again, this time, somebody with a metal detector on looking around a farm in Essex, England. In September of 2024, this metal detectorist checking this farm found a silver oval pendant about 1 inch long, and it included an inscribed frame of mirrored Latin text that allowed for wax impressions. Once pressed onto the material, the phrase Richard's secret or Richard's secret seal would appear next to a tiny cross symbol commonly seen across medieval Christian art. They say based on the location, appearance, and condition, they believe this jewelry dates to somewhere between 12,000 and 14,000 CE. 1400 rather, 1200 and 1400 CE. My bad for adding extra zeros. They said the red gemstone you can see in the centerpiece there was already an antique itself when this piece was made. Etched into its silver enclosure, a gem depicted a racing chariot that would also appear as a scene in wax seals. And archaeologists say the inset was previously crafted during the Augustan era of the Roman Empire as far back as the late 1st century BCE. And even though it's super rare, it isn't the first example like this. They say gem set seal matrices were used by both citizens and nobility to indicate social status. The objects fusing components from different time periods hasn't really been documented much in historical record. So that makes it a little more rare. The UK has deemed this a treasure, so it won't remain in the property in the hands of the person who discovered it. It will likely go on permanent public display in a museum, which is what happens when something is deemed a treasure. But so interesting that it's a treasure within a treasure. See what you can find on a farm in England? Kind of makes me want to go to one. Here's something interesting about baby brains. Do humans, we love to categorize things, right? Put things into different categories. And apparently we do it before we can even see color. Baby brains sort objects into visual categories from just 2 months old before they even see color. I mean, this is just in our nature to categorize. Human babies take months before, we can hold our own heads up. But apparently, there's a lot going on in the baby brain. Parents and scientists say they've often wondered what goes on in that little baby mind. But there was a team, and they've written a study. They recruited 130 babies aged 2 months, and they conducted MRIs on them, which I would never sign my baby up for, but okay. In order to get good data from an MRI scan, you have to keep a baby very, very still. Uh, and so sometimes you can do it when they're sleeping, but they had to do this when they were awake. So they had to put bean bags in to hold them still. But they say the babies were also shown images to keep them engaged with 12 common visual categories: rubber ducks, shopping carts, cats. And they wanted to know what the babies' brains would make of these images. And they said the results were pretty surprising. That maybe we have been underestimating tiny little brains. Their minds were already not only representing how things look, but figuring out into which category they would belong. It shows, they say, the foundations of visual cognition are already in place very early on and much earlier than they ever expected. 65 of the infants were followed up at 9 months of age, and the data then compared with an adult cohort. They say even though an infant at 2 or 9 months of age may not be able to say the words rubber duck, the way their brains responded to images was very similar to that observed in adult brains. Then they used AI models and were able to predict the type of image a child was looking at by observing how it was being processed via the brain's visual pathways. It was possible at 2 months old and then much more refined by 9 months old. So, end result, It shows babies' brains begin to visually sort objects into categories like size or whether they're inanimate much earlier than believed, before babies can even see color. So that's pretty cool. The study, by the way, published in the journal Neuroscience. Trying to figure out what institution did the hmm, doesn't say what college or university did the study, but I can say the doctor's name is O'Doherty if you're looking it up and you're more interested in that. Cleona O'Doherty is the chief researcher involved in that. All right. Now that we know babies are smart, how about a little luck instead of intelligence? This is a let it ride kind of story. It is the lotto of the day. This guy used $10 in lottery winnings and just said, you know what? I'm just going to buy more lottery tickets with it. Guy's from Maryland. He was just coming off his overnight shift at work and realized he'd won $10 in the lottery, used it to buy another ticket. He said he just finished his overnight shift as a retail manager when he cashed in a $10 prize from a fast play ticket at the Amoco BP gas station in Edgewood, Maryland. Come to find out, the Let It Ride thing worked with him because the new ticket he bought gave him $100,000. I wonder if he's going to let that ride too. No, he's going to use his winnings to buy a $10, $100,000 crossword scratch off ticket, or that's what he used the $10 to buy. And that's when he won $100,000. He says this time, though, he's going to put the prize money in the bank. He's not going to let that ride. So that's pretty cool. Here's a good thing about progress made by the EPA over the years. They used to measure the amount of lead that humans were exposed to by taking samples of human hair. Before the Environmental Protection Agency, the state of Utah, the samples taken there had 100 times more lead exposure than they did after the existence of the EPA. And what they say is this: the evidence is clear. Americans were exposed to as much as 100 times more lead in their daily lives than they are today. This is before the EPA was established in 1970. So researchers have been looking at human hair samples for a long time. The findings of this latest study, published today in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, look at industrial regulations, policies, and how it can impact our health. The lead contamination in America is still a huge issue. Reduction a few decades old after EPA policy regulations were implemented. And they were looking for, this research team, how much that impacted humans. So a team from the University of Utah and the National Institutes of Health used mass spectrometry, hold on, spectrometry, I could say it, to measure lead levels in human hair. They do say that blood is better biomaterial to assess it, but hair is still really helpful to study because it's easier to collect and it's easier to preserve. That the surface of the hair is special. According to a University of Utah geologist and study co-author, we can tell that some elements get concentrated and accumulated on the surface of hair, and lead is one of those. And it makes it easier because lead is not lost over time. The state of Utah, part of this, is interesting because the way people keep track of their family history, he said, I don't know if you could do this in New York or Florida. So the authors got hair samples from 48 individuals from various stages of their lives, and they got some samples from their distant relatives dating back to 1916 from archival sources like family scrapbooks. The data illustrated dramatic changes over 100 years. Prior to the closure of regional smelting facilities and EPA regulations, Utah residents ingested about 100 times as much lead as they do today. The dramatic decrease also directly aligned with the reduction and eventual removal of lead from gasoline. So before 1970, gas usually included 2 grams of lead per gallon, which meant 2 pounds of lead released into the atmosphere per person every year. An enormous amount of lead being put into the environment. It's just coming out of the tailpipe, goes right into the air, and then it comes right down. It's in the air for a number of days, especially during the inversions weather patterns they have, and then it absorbs into your hair. You breathe it, it goes into your lungs. And while gas consumption rose in the ensuing decades, lead samples in the hair dropped really sharply. The samples from the 70s measured as high as 100 parts per million, but by 1990, they were 10 parts per million. And in 2024, 1 part per million. Why? EPA regulations. That's what they say. That we should not forget the lessons of history. And the lesson is those regulations have been very important, according to study authors. Sometimes they seem onerous, like an industry can't do exactly what it would like to do, but really, it's had positive effects. This as we see EPA regulations scaled back. So if anyone ever tells you these regulations don't do anything, specific proof they actually do. It makes a huge difference. Because I don't know about you, but I definitely would rather have less lead in me and in my kids than more. All right. I don't know if you saw this story about what happened at Mel's Diner in San Francisco, or how many people have been to the Mel's Diner on Lombard, but boy, did they ever have a fire there. And it doesn't look like, I'm gonna take this off. It doesn't look like flames shooting from the kitchen, but we know that here's a picture of what happened there. You can see the firefighters outside. That is the Mel's on Lombard in San Francisco, and fire tore through the kitchen and ruined part of the dining room as well. They're going to have a long closure is what it looks like. This happened this morning. San Francisco Fire dispatched after a cleaning crew that was out in the parking lot reported this fire a little after 4 in the morning. The firefighters had to cut a hole in the roof for fire suppression efforts there. They had to close down Lombard and direct people in different ways. This location of Mel's Diner on Lombard was going to turn 40 years old in July, and it has some serious damage. Look at that. Yeah, they're going to have a lot of repair work there. That's a bummer. I used to sometimes stop there on my way home from KGO at night. We sometimes would meet there. So thanks to Kron for the pictures. What a bummer. Here's another shot of the damage there. So looks like, again, a long repair and cleanup. So that happened again. Mel's on Lombard in San Francisco today. I have another story before we start traveling, and it is about the Artemis 2. We're supposed to go to the moon next month. Now we're not going, apparently. Leaks and loose valves have pushed the moon-bound Artemis 2 mission to next month. So just a month-long delay, apparently. Yesterday, NASA did the wet rehearsal for the Artemis 2 rocket and spacecraft. It is their biggest rocket ever, and the Orion spacecraft as well, the Space Launch System, fueled up, sealed up, as if they were going to launch. The goal to make sure that everything was in the best shape and to see if they could find any faults, and they did, sadly. to the point where they've now had to postpone. They were going to launch Sunday, February 8th. Now they're not going to launch, and they think, until sometime in March. The launch window opens from March 6th to 11th. So they'll likely have to rehearse again at the end of this month into March 1st. They say they're all about crew safety being the highest priority. During the fueling up of the system, they had to spend several hours fixing a liquid hydrogen leak, which delayed the final terminal countdown. They did manage to successfully fill the tanks, and they were able to rehearse the last 10 minutes before launch. But the plan was to rehearse this portion of the countdown multiple times. The clock was supposed to go all the way down to 1 minute and 30 seconds to launch, where it would have stopped for up to 3 minutes. In the actual launch, if the pause is less than 3 minutes, then the countdown can continue. Otherwise, it has to go back up to 10 minutes. And unfortunately, the countdown was stopped at 5 minutes when there was a spike in liquid hydrogen and the leak appeared. So, and that wasn't the only issue as well. There was a valve connected to hatch pressurization that had to be replaced during the test. It had to be retorqued, they say. There were issues with the cameras because of the cold weather. Some audio communications experienced dropouts. And so all of those issues will have to be fixed and made better before the actual launch expected next month. And if the launch window turns out not to be good, then they're going to bump it back to April. So that's what we have. And thank goodness they're testing it. But yeah. All right. It's time for a little bit of travel, little escapism here on the After Party Live. It is Travel Tuesday. And yesterday we looked at some caves, including a crystal cave in the Bahamas. And so I thought today, why not go back and look at the land there instead of the sea and the underwater caves? How about we go to Abaco? This is things to do in Abaco, Bahamas. And the first thing on the list is to visit this spot. This is Elbow Cay, or Key, sorry. It is a stunning island in the Abacos with a lot of charm and a lot of beauty. You can climb the Hopetown Lighthouse, which is painted in vibrant stripes, and it stands right on the shoreline there. Once you get to the top, it's breathtaking views of the ocean and all of the surrounding islands as well. That lighthouse, the Hopetown Lighthouse, dates back to 1863. It is an easy walk from the quaint town of Hopetown. You can watch all the yachts sailing in the turquoise waters in and out of the harbor. It's a steep climb, they say, but it's worth it. And then after, you can take some time to explore Hopetown, where there are super colorful cottages and charming shops and cafes. And it's a really refreshing way to relax. So, super pretty. Okay, the next place on the list to check out is the Treasure Harbor in this Abaco Island area. And what a beautiful color of water. It's just so pretty. Looks like emerald on one side and turquoise on the other. And here it is. This is the Treasure Harbor area. I'm going to see if I can get this picture ready. Okay, here it is. My apology for the delay, but I think it was worth it. Look at it. I mean, wow, right? So pretty. So the beautiful beaches here in the Treasure Harbor area are known as some of the best in the Bahamas. They have, as you can see along the edge, powdery white sand that stretches for miles. Crystal clear waters, perfect for swimming and for snorkeling. Water sports done here as well, paddle boarding. They do jet skiing there as well. But they say if you're looking for tranquility, and really who isn't, you just lay on the white powdery sand or hop into a beach chair and enjoy the sound of the waves. There are beachside restaurants, fresh seafood, many places serving delicious local specialties. Treasure Harbor, a perfect spot for families and couples or solo travelers, whatever. We've got a pretty big group, so it's still good for us. A quiet retreat for us. They say also don't forget your camera because the scenery there is picture perfect and just beautiful. The Treasure Island or the Treasure Harbor area in the Abacos Islands. The next part, the next place to go is the Foul Keys National Park on Great Abaco Island. And just no matter where you look in this area, breathtaking. So breathtaking and beautiful. So, again, this is number 3 on the list. And here is this picture is amazing. I want to just kind of drink it in and pretend that we're all there for just a moment. Check this out. Incredible. So, Foul Key National Park, super popular for snorkelers and for divers on the Abaco Islands. There are vibrant coral reefs, marine life, colorful fish, sea turtles, and there are tour operators that offer snorkeling trips to this area and will provide all the necessary equipment. The waters are warm and clear, so it's easy to see way down below, way down deep. There are designated areas for divers with depths suitable for all skill levels as well, if you're a diver. And there are secluded beaches in this park as well. So great for a picnic after a day of snorkeling. There is another spot called Dinah's Key, and this is an amazing spot to take a boat and check it out. So pretty. Also, one of the most beautiful places to stay, Dinah Key, in this area. Dinah Key is a serene, beautiful spot. A boat trip, a must for anyone to unwind. Once you arrive at Dinah's Key, you can relax, soak up the sun on the beaches, the soft sand and the clear water. Create this perfect atmosphere for a day of leisure. Just bring a book, take a dip in the calm sea, come back, dry off, read your book for a while. There are picnic areas as well. So that's fun. You can also, if you're done relaxing and maybe you want a little bit of I don't know, activity, you can go check out the Marsh Harbor where there's lots of wine tasting, lots of businesses, lots of activity, lots of things to do. So we got to check it out. Little wine tasting right on the ocean. Yes, please. So again, this is the Marsh Harbor area in the Abaco Islands. And it does look a little busier. You go from this to this. I have a picture of you. And that looks pretty fun, I have to say. There it is. Lots of wine tasting, fun things to do. The Abaco Wine and Spirits in Marsh Harbor, said to be a delightful experience with a curated selection of wines from around the world. During the tastings they offer, they have staff that will guide you through various wines. They have tips on selection and food pairings. The atmosphere said to be friendly and inviting. And if you don't like wine, they have beers and spirits. So it's called the Abaco Wine and Spirits. They also host big events through the year. So they say it's worth checking out the calendar to see what's going on. Yeah, it's in the Marsh Harbor area in the Bahamas. So that's just a little travel on our Travel Tuesday. We have Elbow Key, Treasure Harbor, Fowl Key, and then the Marsh Harbor. Beautiful. And just remember, every time you look at one of these areas, imagine what's underneath the crystal caves. This place just seems so magical. And that, my friends, is Travel Tuesday. Just a little blip, little fun time for us. The friendly locals there make the trip even better. So, very fun. Something for everyone in the Bahamas. All right. Well, that is today's show. Thank you for hanging out and being here. I'm going to the chat to see what you guys have to say. Tomorrow on the show is Waterfall Wednesday. So if you have any ideas, please send me a message, Kim at the afterparty.live. I would love your thoughts. If you have anything we haven't seen before, anything you think we should see, any ideas, Kim at the afterparty.live is the way to reach me. Um, hmm. Oh, I'm looking in the chat, seeing what you guys are up to in here. Um, yeah. Oh, yeah, we haven't covered it. There was a predator that came in and ate the eggs. I don't know if any more have been laid, but the 2 eggs that we had talked about did get munched on and are no longer with us. So, yeah. Um, I did email Rhonda. Rhonda's doing well, or I won't say she's doing well. She responded and said she's had some health problems and that she's gonna try to make a point to pop into the chat and say hi. So just know that she's doing okay, but she is suffering from some health issues. So Ms. Organic says they said in the past when this has happened that she did lay a second clutch. So fingers crossed and hopeful for that. Yeah, we'll keep our eye on that story. Thank you for reminding me. Absolutely. Yvonne says they have to go back and check out the cupcake lady. That is Christy Brammer, and she's super sweet, and her products are out of this world amazing. If you are a chocolate person, and I know some people like prefer more fruity desserts, like my husband will always pick the apple crumble, but I'll always pick the chocolate thing. So if you're the chocolate person and you like the caramel and the chocolate and the, you know, peanuts and the Snickers cupcake cake is crazy good. So good. My daughter loved their red velvet cupcake cake as well. And we didn't open the strawberry one right away because I thought there was too much going on, like too many options. So I was going to save one for later. And then I went out to the kitchen counter and I found the empty cupcake container on the, yeah, so apparently that one was good too. It was totally eaten. Ms. Organic says I ordered some of the Snickers cupcake cakes and caramel ones for my mom since she was in labor with me on Valentine's Day. Oh, that's really sweet. I love that. Yeah. You resisted. Well, I will say the good thing about them is that they're very sweet, and so after a couple bites, you wanna put the lid on, which is awesome that it has a lid so you can keep it fresh, because you don't need to overeat it. You just take a couple bites, and it's amazing, and then a few hours later, you want a couple more bites, and you know how that goes, but it makes it so that you don't wanna really eat the whole thing in one sitting. At least I didn't, which and it was really, truly, if not the best dessert I've ever had, one of the best. Just the texture and the taste and everything about it. So good. Murphy says her family does not eat sugar. Oh, Murphy, that's amazing. Yeah, your Coachella Valley coffee order will do, but that's really great. If you can do that, that's really wonderful. My husband has stopped eating sugar as well, using something called allulose instead. And so a lot of things in my house are allulose instead of sugar. So yeah, I think I've talked about that before. All right. Well, I am gonna let you all get back to your Tuesday. And I will see you tomorrow on The Mark Thompson Show, which is going to be a good one. Thank you again for contributing to the show. And again, mahalo to Luis, who slid in right under the wire yesterday, and I didn't get to show his super chat super sticker. So thank you so much to Luis for that contribution, and to everyone, including Wes and others. Wait for the names to pop up, who contribute every day via the PayPal. So Wes has come in yesterday and today with a 5 for the after party live. Just appreciate it so much. And then a lot of you have set up these recurring payments, and those have come through Carol S, Rhonda A, Linda G. Thank you so much for those payments on PayPal to help keep this show rolling. All right, everybody, please click the like. If you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe. And until we meet again, make it the very best Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Yes, that's how we did it at my house, Eileen, although I think you could probably cut the container away. I was thinking about serving one at book club, and I think you could serve it like a mini cake, and it's rich enough so that the slices would be small and would be just fine. But I'd kept mine in the pint container because it was a work in progress.